Hey, Fresh Streams, it's so good to be joining you this week. Unfortunately, we are not in person, and I know for me, this time last year was a real highlight of my year. So, as much as I am gutted that we can't be together in person, I am so excited that through the wonders of technology, we can be together, which is amazing. So today you are joining me in my kitchen. So from my home to your home, or to your church, or to your office, or to maybe in the car you're listening, I pray that the next 20 minutes together is a great blessing and encouragement. For those of you who maybe don't know who I am, my name is Gaz. I'm married to Lois. We just recently celebrated our 10-year wedding anniversary, which is amazing. We have two young children, Macy Love, who is 5.5, Hudson, who is 18 months. And probably this time last year when I spoke, I showed you a beautiful family photo of the four of us. I would love to show you an up-to-date one, but with an 18-month-old, trying to get them sit still for a family photo is a real hard task, as I'm sure many of you are aware. But myself and Lois are part of the eldership team at our local church here in Newport, South Wales. And my role within Care for the Family is I am the Faith in the Family networker. And a big part of that is working and connecting with churches and leaders to see how we can help equip and support families and parents in building faith at home. But today I want to look at some of the work we do within Care for the Family and how in this season we can look at engaging and connecting with families. And I know this week the base scripture is Jeremiah 6:16. And as I was reading that this morning, I feel for many of us this is an opportunity to wait on the Lord and look what has gone on before and seek the right path. And that path will have its challenges, as we know. But there will also be a rest and a peace knowing that God is in this and directing our paths. We know that in this past 10 months, so much has been stripped away from us as a church and us as leaders, and the way we have done church this time last year is maybe not how we do church right now. And I know that we could list hundreds of challenges for us individually, but also us as churches. But today I want to take a moment to not just look at the pressures and the challenges that face us, but really look at an opportunity that exists for us all. And that is looking at how we come alongside families and equip them and support them. Right now, families both within the church and outside the church are facing incredible pressures and challenges. And we as the church are uniquely positioned to help them. But it may just take us reimagining how we do church, and also maybe relooking a little bit at some of our roles as leaders in that. Before we jump into that, let me give you a quick overview of Care for the Family, because for some of you, you may not be aware of who we are, and I would love just to give you a little bit of information before we jump into that. We as an organisation was founded in 1988 by a gentleman called Rob Parsons, and Care for the Family has sought to promote strong family life and help those who face family difficulties. Our work has been focused mainly in the UK and the Isle of Man, but increasingly in this world, through digital technology, we are reaching a far wider audience than we ever have before. We focus primarily on three key areas of family life, them being marriage and relationships, parenting and bereavement. Our aim is to be accessible to every family, whatever their circumstances, and to create resources and support that are preventative, evidence-based, and easy to apply. Our heart is to come alongside many people like you as churches to go, how can we help equip and support you in engaging in family life? And under those three headings of parenting, marriage, and bereavement, there are so many other specific areas. We know that every family and marriage is unique. Parents may have one child or many, be fostering or adopting, be parenting a child with additional needs, parenting alone or apart from their children. Couples may have been together for many years or just beginning their marriage adventure. Whatever the context and circumstances, we want to do all we can do to support both marriages and families to help them thrive. And I know that in this season, for many of us, just surviving is a massive win. And we want to come alongside families, whatever bit of the journey they are, to help them in their journey. However, we also know that on every journey, they will experience difficult times, as well as the good. We have services such as our telephone befriending services, which are there to support them when the going is tough. In particular, we are aware that all will experience grief and loss during their lifetime. We want to help those who are living with loss to discover hope for the future and the strength to rebuild their own lives and lives of those that they love. For us as an organisation, we are motivated by our Christian faith, ethos and compassion. We are committed to supporting families of all faiths or none with outstanding services and resources. And that is our heart, that we want to come alongside and to really support, no matter where they are, to help them on that journey. I could speak about Care for the Family for the next couple of hours, but I won't. What I would invite you to is check out our website at www.cff.org.uk. It's really a great place to start to look at ways and resources that can really help you in your context, in your community. Please do check them out. I work specifically on a project called Kitchen Table Project, and I know last year we spoke a whole bunch about that, and you can check out that website. But really that is looking at how we support parents to build faith at home, making the most of the everyday moments. And I work with churches to see how we can help equip and support parents, how we can come alongside. And as part of that project, and through the research, we found that there are 5 key things that build faith. But as I was preparing to talk to you for streams today, I really felt that these 5 key things can really help us as churches and as leaders when we are connecting and engaging with families. So I would love just to give a quick overview of just 5 key things in this season that can really help us as the church and as leaders to connect and engage with families, whether they are within the church or outside the church, whether they're in the local school or whether you come across them through maybe kids clubs or toddler groups. I really pray that these 5 key things that can really help us to build and engage with families in this season and beyond. The first one is home. Like I've already said, we recognise that every home is different and unique, and we want to celebrate that. In this season, I know for many, the home has become many things. It's become the classroom, the office. For some, it's become the church. I know for me, our home, some days is so busy. My wife is on one table working, I'm on another table working, and our 18-month-old is just running around. And that is home right now. But do we as leaders in church recognise the importance of the home? How can we strengthen and support families at home? The goal isn't to create uniformed, perfect homes, because there's so much beauty even in the midst of chaos and busyness. We want to help create our homes to be safe places. But as we, as the church and as leaders, do we paint the picture of a perfect home for families which sometimes they feel they can't achieve, or it's unachievable because it's this perfect family home? Or are we helping them where they are to make the most of every opportunity that exists at home, the good and the not so good, and everything in between? See, opportunities as a family to play together, to learn and grow together, a place to have those tough conversations. At Care for the Family, we have so many great courses and content that can help support families where they're at. As you as a church, have you thought in this season, what does it look like to run a parenting course or one of our marriage courses that could go straight into people's homes, trying to get a babysitter, or all those other challenges maybe don't exist right now because it's online. So have you thought about running one of those? And you can look on our website how you can run them. See, how can we remove the perception that going on a course means that you're failing, rather than actually creating these opportunities to learn and grow together? It's actually running these things because we have a heart as a church to strengthen people and to help build, not because you're failing or you're not doing a good job. How do we talk about these things as the church? Do our families think, well, if we're involved or if we're trying to help get them onto a course or something, it's because we think they are doing a rubbish job? No. It's because we want to help develop and help strengthen everyone where they're at. The second thing that can really build in this season is being real. So often families look into us as the church and maybe us as leaders, and they think we have it all together. They think it's okay for them because God answers every prayer that they pray. They don't have the worries or the pressures that I face in my family. But how can we as leaders help demonstrate authenticity and genuineness to all we meet and work with? See, we want to tell the stories of where we got things right, of course. We want to tell stories of where we've seen breakthrough in our own lives. But also those moments that are tough and hard, and maybe those times where we don't quite get it right. We need to be telling those stories as much as the stories where we've got it all right. Those moments where we have done something wrong, maybe that time where we've had to apologise to our spouse or our partner or our child. This is all about creating connection and modelling that it's not about being perfect parent or an expert in marriage, but we are all learning. So as we create a sense of being real, we are saying to the families and the people we work and spend time with that it's not about being perfect, that we are all on this journey. I know for myself and my wife, we have the privilege to come alongside some couples in our church to encourage them, whether they've been married a couple of days or a few years. And I know we often tell the story that for the first year of our marriage, my wife moved from London to Wales. I was so excited for her to be in Wales. She, however, was not so excited. She was excited to get married before any of you say that. But she was so excited to get married. But the reality of life, that actually she was doing a job she hated, that things in marriage maybe wasn't as rosy as we thought they were going to be. And for the first year of our marriage, it was tough. Most nights, Lois would come home and she would be crying. And that's the reality of marriage sometimes. And we have to make sure that we tell those stories, that we don't just paint this perfect picture, but we also are honest and vulnerable about the realities of life's ups and downs in our own life. Thirdly, belonging. People, no matter their age or no matter how successful or challenging life is, we all want to belong. This is a season where words such as isolation and quarantine have become everyday phrases. My 5-year-old often says the word isolation or quarantine. And we as the church want to create opportunities in this season as well and places to belong. For many families, the usual places they would connect with others maybe don't exist right now, or maybe look a little bit different. Those informal conversations with the other parents at the schoolyard. Those catch-ups and chats while the kids are doing swimming lessons. That Friday night at the pub or curry night with friends. They maybe don't exist right now. And the initial enthusiasm of doing those things on Zoom just maybe don't cut it right now. And families maybe feel a little bit deflated in this season and maybe a bit disconnected. Have we thought about ways that we can connect people, each other in our own churches? Have we thought about how we can spend time and how we can create opportunities for other families and individuals to connect with each other? Not just around a function, not just around a service, but just to spend time together, to encourage each other, to talk about the challenges and pray with each other. Maybe there are older members of our congregation or other members of our congregation who could contact families within our churches, or people on their own, to encourage them, to drop them a text, to give them a ring. There is much we have lost as people, we know that. But we want to encourage that there is also so many opportunities right now. Encourage our churches to reach their neighbours, to build relationship with the people they live alongside, to come alongside them, to encourage them. I've been so encouraged that on our street, that suddenly people, I've lived next door to each other for 5 years, suddenly there's relationship building. There's a real sense of community building. And who knows what can be birthed in our homes and in our streets in this season. We could wait for this all to be over and we think we're just going to return back to normal. But I believe God is saying there's opportunities in this season. Look, see what I'm up to. See what could happen in your communities. See, how can we build community and family today? How can we connect? How can we create places that families feel like they belong? There are people in your communities who would say they belong to your church because maybe they bring their kids to kids club before COVID, before this season, or maybe they would come along to your toddler group. So they would say they belong to your church, but we as churches maybe don't see them on a Sunday. But there's many families and people within our communities who would say your church is their church. Why? Because they maybe come at Easter or at Christmas. You may never see them on a Sunday, but they see you as their church, a safe place, a place they know where to come to. How are we connecting with them in this season? They may never log on to online church or come to an in-person gathering because maybe they have to book on Eventbrite, but they still see you as their church. How can we create a sense and a place for them to belong? What can we do to come alongside them? Fourth is intentional. Engaging and connecting with families will take us being intentional. Not just doing what we have always done, but maybe making an intentional shift to go, okay, the way we used to do things is great, and we celebrate that, and we build upon that. But what are some of the shifts and changes we need to make today to engage with families? Intentional in what we run and do as a church, and maybe intentional in some things we don't do. Intentional in what we as leaders do or don't do. Maybe that phone call to that single parent, that walk and that hour we spend walking around a park with another family. That standing over the garden gate and that person at home seeing a smiling face, even maybe beneath the mask. It may take us being intentional with our time. Even as leaders, it may take us looking at our time and going, okay, how can I be intentional in connecting and engaging with families? And it will look different to what we've always done. But there are amazing opportunities. Intentional with the roles that maybe some people in our teams play. Maybe intentional in the roles our children's worker or those involved in children's work or youth work. It may look a little bit differently. But the thing is, children and young people are still there. They still have a routine. They still have challenges and joys. But we may need to look at how we engage with them and where a little bit different. But that takes us as churches being intentional, going, okay, maybe the role of our children's worker looks a little bit different. Maybe it's not just about putting out content or running a provision, but it's looking at how we can connect and engage with the bigger picture. I know for us, my little girl goes to our local primary school, and we've built up a bit of a relationship just with the teaching staff there. And one of the challenges that they had as a school before was all the staggered dropping off times and things like that, and helping keep the parents where they should be. So I just had a conversation and gone, what does it look like for myself? Maybe 1 or 2 days, just come in and kind of spend some time helping the parents be where they should be and stay outside the school gates. But also it's an opportunity for me to be intentional, to engage and connect with other parents there, but also blessing the school and helping them in a role that they needed. So it's being intentional with our time and not just doing what we've always done. And then finally, prayer. Prayer is so important, as we know. Are we praying as churches and leaders for our families? Praying for our parents individually? Maybe right now, maybe just write down one or two parents or families that maybe God just lays on your heart and think, I'm going to intentionally put aside a couple of minutes each day to pray for them. But maybe ask them, what can I pray for? Have we got opportunities for people in our community, people who see our church building, and maybe their challenges they're going on, or the joys in their life? Are we creating opportunities that they know we can pray for them? How can we be creative with that? Could we have a blackboard outside our church or inside the foyer of the church that people can come in and just write their prayer requests on, that we can pray for as churches? Can we use technology to facilitate prayer in our churches? Can we use WhatsApp groups? Could we have a YouVersion Bible plan going where families and people within the church read something together, but also write on there to encourage and pray for each other? Could we use social media as a blessing in this season to pray with people, to encourage each other? But let's also, as leaders and as churches, not just pray for people, but pray with people. Maybe it's picking up the phone and saying, what can I pray for? Maybe it's when you accidentally bump into someone on the supermarket run, just spending a moment over the trolley going, how can I pray for you in this season? I know for us as a family, our little girl Macy has had incredibly bad eczema for the last 3 years. Has kind of been sent all over the place to dermatologists, specialists, to doctors, and it clears up a week, then the antibiotics go and it just comes back and it gets worse, and it's so frustrating for our little girl as well as us. And just a few weeks ago, we got to a point where it then spread to her face and it looked incredibly painful and sore for her. And we were praying for her, and my little girl was talking to my wife, and my wife said, I'm just going to ask a couple of the guys from church to pray for you, Macy. And Macy's response, first of all, was like, why only a couple of people? Why not the whole church, Mum? And we laughed. And so my wife just put out a little message, said, hey, can you pray, because we've got to the point we don't know what else we can do and it's looking incredibly painful. Can you pray for Macy? So people replied, yeah, I can pray. And then there was a knock at the door. And we live in Wales, and the restrictions and the limits have been a little bit different to England. And this lady from our church, Naomi, knocked the door. And she was in the shop, and she had in her hand a magazine for Macy and said, hey, I was near and I got your message. And I thought, yeah, we can pray, but do you mind if I just pray for her just through the door right now? And we as a family were so encouraged, but also challenged. Do in the busyness of my life, do I take a moment to think, how can I be a blessing? How can I interrupt maybe some of those routines and the things that I'm so busy doing to actually spend a moment to pray for a family or someone? We know that there are so many challenges and pressures in this season. But right now, maybe take a moment after you've finished watching this, not just to write down the challenges that are facing you as the church, but what are the opportunities? What are the opportunities to engage with your local community, with the people in your community and families that you maybe have worked with in the past? What are the opportunities today to work with them? Maybe to do an online school assembly. Maybe if restrictions allow and people feel comfortable, to walk around the park with them, to encourage them. There are so many opportunities. And we at Care for the Family, our heart, like I've already said, is to equip and support. Can I encourage you to check out our website to see how some of that support and some of those resources can really help the families within your church and within your community, and help you as a church to really bless them. And I mentioned the Kitchen Table Project, whose heart here is to really to come alongside families to help them build faith and make the most of the everyday moments. In this season where church looks a little bit different, maybe this is something that could really help you to engage in families within your church. So check out our website, thekitchentable.org.uk. There's so much resource, so much support that can help you on this journey. Really looking at, in this season, how can we join the dots between church and home? How can we come alongside families to help them in this season and belong? It's been a pleasure to spend the last 20-25 minutes with you. But if you've got any questions or thoughts, or you think, especially around the whole idea of building faith at home, oh Gaz, how could we do this? Or maybe how could you help on this? Please drop me an email. You can go on our website and that's great, but please do get in touch. My email is gareth.hillier@cff.org.uk. Hillier is spelled Hillier. I would love to hear off you and see how we can help encourage and equip and support and come alongside you. Thank you so much for watching. I pray that it's an encouragement and a blessing. And can I just take this moment to say thank you so much for all you are doing as a church leader, as a church, for people within your church, but also people in your community. Be blessed. Have a great day.